Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the program. This is a special edition of Now You Know, What Will I Be? All about our local candidates vying for the second round of the 2024 parliamentary elections. My guests today are no strangers to most of us. One of them was a former member of parliament, and she is back in the race, this time, however, on a different party. Miss Ludmilla Duncan. She is candidate number 11 on the PFP slate. My other guest is an educator and quite active in the community. She is passionate about education from both sides. She wants to improve the quality of teachers as well as accessibility and improved plans for children. And she serves on the board of the Windward Island Teachers Union White Miss Rosalinda Martina, candidate number 8 on the PFP slate, the Party for Progress. Ladies, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you.
Good to have you here. Now, the January 2024 parliamentary elections did not achieve a full term. Matter of fact, it was the shortest coalition in our history, lasting only 17 days. But Ms. Duncan, you did not participate in that election, but you are now back.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we had to have this talk some years ago, but as the saying goes, better late than never.
Definitely.
So, Ms. Duncan, refresh our memories. You were on the National Alliance slate, then you went independent. Why did you decide to come back, and why the change of political parties, especially since we know your father to be so involved with the National Alliance?
Yeah, Valerie, it was the last 4 years for me has been quite an experience. Okay, so going from, a young girl growing up in an SBA house,
Yes.
of course,
Yes.
and then working with my father as the First Minister of Justice, and him also to being a member of the National Alliance. One of the first things I say is that the party isn't what it used to be, and I think everybody would say that about the country itself, right? So the party isn't what it used to be. There's been so many changes, and for a number of different policy reasons and issues with value, I went independent 2 years ago in Parliament. And then I actually decided last year not to run because there were a number of different things. I wasn't happy, honestly, with just the way in which Parliament was functioning, the structure. I realized that there needs to be changes so that we could actually be more effective, because people complain, and they have a right to complain about the effectiveness of Parliament. Why don't you guys do more? There is no legal department in Parliament. There's a lot of different things that needed to change. And then going independent, I also questioned my ability to bring the change that I wanted to. I was a policy advisor for so long, and so I'm a policy person. But in Parliament, the relationship between MPs and the ministers is a very tricky one.
Okay.
And oftentimes too, especially if you're independent or not a part of a party that honestly collaborates to make change, is very difficult. So I said, I'm going to take a step back. I'm not going to run. I didn't say I was quitting politics forever, but I just said I needed to reflect about my time and about what needed to happen. And I actually was getting ready to move to the Netherlands with my family to pursue a PhD, because that's also a dream of mine. And I said, okay, let me take some time and go and come back. But then once government fell, and with the state of the country and my love for St. Martin, but the potential that I see that we have, I knew that if I came back, and this was based on conversations that I had with a very good friend of mine and my partner about, do we leave now, right? In the darkest time of our country.
Yeah.
It was that dramatic. And I had to make that answer. Party for Progress for me, and your interview with Melissa was really, really nice, and Nelly. The Party for Progress is a group of young professionals who are not only competent, but really believe in accountability, integrity, doing the right things, treating everyone fairly. And that's why I chose this party, and it's been only 2 months, but it's been a good 2 months, and I'm really excited to see what happens on August 19th.
So it's a much better fit for you.
Yes, yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it's weird because we hold on in our community to these ties, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Traditionally.
but the tradition and the
Yeah.
customs.
Yes.
And I had actually seen a post from somebody in Anguilla saying that, you know, even though that's like a Caribbean style of politicking, we need to get to a place where we really evaluate, you know, if the party aligns with the vision that you yourself has for the country. And so I'm a proud member of the PFP now.
What would be your okay? You were. We know that you were member of parliament.
hmm
What are you looking for, or how are you looking to change? Um, you know, this time around.
Yeah, so you know, it was like a lesson, like hard lessons learned, right? So I was a rookie. I was a
Yeah.
rookie for
Yes.
4 years, and we were going through a difficult time. But I learned about, like I said, the legal department. We need to restructure, and there's actually like rules on the table to change some of the structure of parliament. It just needs to be done. So going back into parliament if possible to get those changes done. Right before I left, I proposed this digital library for research because oftentimes, and not only with MPs but in government, we're making decisions that aren't based on scientific data and research. And every year, our students, whether they leave or they stay on the island, they research our problems. They go, they do surveys, they write these reports and proposals, and government doesn't use them. And so the idea was that Parliament would have an online repository of all of this research, and with that research now, we go and tackle the problems in an effective way. So there's a lot of work that that I know still needs to be done, but the time off allowed me to honestly become stronger
Yeah,
mentally,
yeah,
emotionally, spiritually,
Yes.
and I'm ready to
It,
go.
it takes a lot out of you.
Yeah.
Huh? It's a 24/7 job.
Mhm.
You know, you never. You had made some proposals when you were with the other party.
hmm
Will you still be championing those
Yes.
proposals when you get back in?
Oh, definitely.
And those that
Heritage.
you had to drop, you know, to pick
Mhm.
them back up again, you know.
No,
Tell
of
us what
course.
some of them were to remind us, refresh our memory.
So, what a huge motion which was adopted was the heritage, culture, and civic education motion. Because we keep talking about our lack of local history. We keep talking about, you know, preserving our monuments and so forth. So, this is something that I think until we fix those issues as a people, we won't be able to move forward. And I don't think we realize how important it is. So that is one of the huge uh, projects that have to be picked back up. And now with the PFP there for support, I have no doubt that I will be able to accomplish a lot.
What about getting local history as a curriculum, part of the curriculum into
Yep.
our schools? And we're not just talking about high school, but we're talking about
Elementary
elementary
school.
schools, starting there.
So, you know, I've talked about this a number of times because, I mean, Rosa and I both have children. My daughter's 11 and so it's not I'm just talking
Yeah,
that
yeah,
I don't know, you know. I talk about very early on one of her social studies projects being indigenous village. And I always wondered, okay, when is she gonna bring home a salt pond project or, you know, an enslaved village plantation project? And in my motion, I asked the Minister of Education to just create a committee, and we have curriculum writers at USM in the ministry. We have all of these professionals. Bring them together and say, listen, take the next 6 months to draft out the changes that need to happen in both elementary and secondary education. And I heard that they were beginning to do it, but then nothing really happened, and now we're 2 years later. And what I always tell people is that the young people, unlike in my day, they are so much more vocal. So the Teen Times came, they sent letters to Parliament. They're like, hey, guys, you know, we're waiting, we need this. And we still kind of fail to deliver.
Right.
And so for me now, I cannot accept not doing what we're supposed to do, especially for the young people, because in a couple of years, you know, they're the ones that are going to be in charge,
Exactly.
and then they're going to be they're already angry with us about what we failed to do. Yeah. So it's crucial.
What I would like to add with the culture and heritage, the information is very all over the place. So there's no central location for the information. So it's very unsure on what you want the students to learn. So with the curriculum work group, you get that information and how you're going to bring it across. It would help a lot because the students they don't know our culture.
Exactly.
They're losing it.
Yeah, exactly. So, for those of us who are not too familiar with you, tell us a bit about yourself.
Well, Rosalinda Martina, Party for Progress, candidate number 8.
First time on the Party for Progress?
I ran in January's elections. That was my first time.
Okay, first time.
Yes. Okay. I'm an educator for 11 years. I was on the union board for 3 years. I thought to bring about change in that way, be the voice of the teachers. But in meetings with the Prime Minister and ministers at the time, I realized that you really have to be on the decision-making side to be able to see change. So that was the driving force behind me running for the first time. And
who pulled you in?
It was just me. It was
really?
me deciding that, hey, I want to run, and then I went and I seek a party to.
Okay, so what made you seek out the
PFP? Well, I did know of Marvia because we worked together, number 6.
Okay, yeah.
And I had a friend contact him, and then I contacted Melissa, and we met.
Okay.
And yes, when they explained everything to me and I told them what my vision was, and we aligned. So I said, this feels like home. I can work with these people, and they actually have St. Martin at heart.
Okay.
So, yes.
Okay. Now, you are an educator. You're running for, we know that this is a parliamentary election, but when elected, member of parliament or minister? Being an educator, we're trying to figure out now because I have a lot of questions for you when it comes to education, especially what we are disappointed in. And the biggest thing that I am personally disappointed in is the lack of schools that have not been rebuilt. We always had a shortage of teachers. We've always had overcrowding. Hurricane Irma 7 years ago hit us, and then we had to cram more children into already overcrowded schools. There's no way that they can do it as well in that environment if they're not comfortable.
Definitely.
Then I have another issue with the Excellence Academy. That when the autistic children were they could not be mainstream. They need structure. And nothing was done for them to, get them in that structural environment. So now I'm wondering, when is it going to happen? Because the former minister waiting on the NRPB. The NRPB says it's government. It's a back and forth. We don't have time to be going back and forth anymore. So when election time came up, and it was all said and done, little did we know it was going to last 17 days. And there's only but so much you can do. So when elected, what will be done to get the schools rebuilt for our children?
Yeah, that is the first thing. The structures of the schools right now, I wouldn't say rebuild immediately because there is no budget for that. So, steps.
Small steps.
Make the necessary changes first within the infrastructure that you already have, and then later on, maybe you can start rebuilding one school at a time. But to say that tear it down and rebuild.
Because they said that money was allocated. They went to this fancy signing, and then nothing.
Again, we don't have people that are passionate and fight for education, because if that is your job and you are the head, you're going to fight all the time. And you're going to write, you're going to call, you're going to make requests, you're going to make sure that these things are getting done. And I feel like if you're not passionate and that's not what's priority right now, you're not going to do it. And for me, I'm passionate about education.
Yeah,
So I'm going to be
heard.
on it. You tell me tomorrow, you'll get back to me. Tomorrow, I'm checking in. So we need that
And
within
then
education.
let the people know, at least be
Exactly.
transparent.
Communication as
that
well.
is-
That was
You know?
very lacking
Yes.
for these past 4 years. And that is where the frustration lies, because you're not communicating, you're not telling us what is going on. So we're becoming frustrated because we feel like you're withholding information. So
Exactly.
definitely communication and transparency.
No, that is huge. That is huge because, like you said, indeed, Prince William Alexander,
Thank
that
you.
had to be.
Yes.
It's been a long time.
Yes.
And there are issues because there was issues with money being transferred, I believe, to the contractor, and then money disappeared. This information is within the walls of government, and nobody knows what's happening. While the same children, those that have special needs, are at a school that isn't built for them,
Exactly.
and they are waiting. And why should they even be waiting longer, right? So there's this lack of accountability because monies were dispersed. So what happened? Then you also have an issue with, and you mentioned NRPB. There was a lack of, because I heard one school had to turn into like a behavioral center. I can't remember which one that was. But then there's a fight between the vision for the school. What is it going to be? So that's why one entity is blaming the other, and there's always an issue. We cannot continue like this. And because, again, there's this gap where government isn't held as accountable as it should be, and the people, kind of wait. We have too many issues that aren't being solved, and now what we're seeing, I always use the analogy of the house falling apart, right? You don't maintain your house in 50 years, even in 20 years. The cracks, you're looking at the cracks, and everything is going to fall apart, and that's basically where we are now, and that's why it's so critical for persons to not only elect competent, but people that tell you the truth, that have integrity, that are saying, you know what, it is unethical for us to continue without finishing these projects.
That was my point. My point is they are playing the blame game. Well, I believe as a minister, come out and tell the
Just
people.
say what went wrong.
I have tried this. I have done this, and there's no response. Then we know it's not you, but it's the other party.
Because if nobody is to blame, then what happens then?
Exactly.
What happens?
That is, and it's
and who's
frustrating.
suffering?
Yeah, the children, and that is the thing that has me upset. The children are not learning. It's not conducive to their learning environment.
Exactly.
It's so frustrating, but. Well, maybe what happened on in May was a good thing, because maybe now new people can come on board and.
Honestly, we often have this emotional, which is normal. We respond emotionally because we're so tired and drained. But sometimes I just think, you know what? Sometimes you kind of, my partner says, solve a problem with a problem. And sometimes, good things come out of things that we perceive to be bad. So I think that's what's going to happen on August 19th. I'm hoping.
There is also the issue, social issues. There's an increased dropout rate. There are, for some, a poor academic performance. All of this goes into school. And when I heard that you were coming on, how passionate you were about education, it says, here's a good person. Any ideas? Your first order of business.
The children are bored. let me tell you, they're bored, and there definitely needs to be a curriculum overhaul. And whether I get in or not, my idea right now is to focus on curriculum change, to incorporate STEAM, which is science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics. To incorporate that into the curriculum we already have, because they really are bored. And when you get hands-on, when you can be hands-on, when you can see, it really helps them. They're more interested in what they're learning. That is needed right now. Because with so much technology, they're always on these devices.
Yes.
They're not going to sit in the classroom listening to you write on the board and reading a book. They want to be involved. They want to learn the information and do it themselves. So by incorporating that, we will have less. My belief is we will have less of this dropout rate, because they won't be bored.
Yeah, the
So,
dropout rate is another thing that we are concerned about because it seems to be many years ago, one of the former ministers was talking about the B3, I think, get the G3, get off the block, get on the bus, and get moving. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
that was,
And then because when the other administration came in and they couldn't put their stamp on it, it was just dropped to the side. So our young men are still on the block, waiting to get some help.
yes.
I but I'm a proponent of get your GED, get
But
moving, get
that's also
something.
with trade schools. We have NEPA, but
Mhm.
NEPA needs some more help
Yeah. Yeah.
and broader spectrum for everybody. And trade is excellent. It's an excellent way to make money, and
Yes,
we really
it
have to
is.
promote that as well because we need it. And a lot of the students are hearing like, oh, you have to be academic or doctors and lawyers. No,
Listen,
we need plumbers and carpenters.
and electricians.
Exactly. We
It's like
need all of
everybody-
that
okay.
as well. And it's not being promoted as much. It's kind of looked down on, but we need to enforce that, hey, this is where you can make money and start your own business.
Listen, let me tell you something. With GB going on and off, and when there's no electricity and your air code isn't working, well, that electrician,
is
Yeah.
when he comes,
Uh-huh,
he is
yes,
the
he's-
greatest thing since sliced
Yep.
bread. Okay, because there's nobody. You don't know
Yeah,
how to fix that air
exactly.
conditioner or your refrigerator or anything else.
exactly.
You know
And
what I mean?
whatever
So
he charges,
don't look
you're
down.
gonna pay. Yeah.
Sometimes double.
Yeah.
But that's something else we can talk about. But anyway.
No, so I was extremely happy that the Party for Progress is a proponent of the CVQ qualification. 6 years ago, 7 years ago, when I was at the Department of Education, we started looking into CVQs, which is a component of the CXC program, which is a vocational education qualification, which will offer our students the types of courses that would allow them to build skills, and starting from actually at the end of elementary school. And we had a work group together. I even did a video on vocational education. I went to all the schools, and I remember meeting a young girl at MPC, and she said she wanted to be an electrician. And I was so excited by it. And I'm looking at all of these children, and I have friends that went to vocation that are doing extremely well, but from my generation. And I hear teachers talking about the quality of education. And this is a program, and we already have so much CXC schools already. So just saying, hey guys, listen, what we have now is not working. We will spend a year transitioning into this. Our children will have the skills to go into our local job market, or they can go to college in the region. We know that they can get a job on the other islands and so forth. The party has expressed this explicitly in their manifesto, and this is something that we are, once given the opportunity, are going to push, because we have to change the curriculum, and we have to offer our children other sorts of education,
Other options.
other options, education-wise, and also set them up for success, not set them up for failure. And one of the biggest issues we have is that over the last, let's say, 20 years, we haven't evaluated our changes. Now we have the PSVE and the VSBO. We haven't evaluated what's not working, and that's our biggest problem. And what happens is that in government, you have the department here, the schools are operating, and there's no real collaboration and connection. It's one of the biggest problems, and that needs to change.
Definitely. Another thing I would like to add is the traffic exam, because with so many of the road accidents that's happening right now, I see they have it in the wrong place. So the traffic exam is done in 5th grade and then forgotten afterwards. And it's the high school students that need it, because they're on the road, they're using the road. They don't know that, hey, put your hand out when you're on your bike to make a turn. So they're not doing these things. So it's like lost information. So if you can just move that information into secondary education, at least the 1st and 2nd years, that will be beneficial on our roads as well. So no one is looking at this.
Yeah, there are
But
too many
I'm
accidents,
seeing
bike
it.
accidents on the road.
Yes, yes. They're not aware of the rules of the road. They don't know the signs because they forgot it. It was done in fourth and fifth grade. So if we just move that, it would help. I believe it would really help.
Yeah.
So that also I've noted to work on. Even though if not elected, I want to push a work group and meet with the heads and decide, hey, we need to do XYZ. It's not working. Everybody's complaining. So now let's take a look at it and try to fix it.
Okay. Besides the schools that need to be rebuilt, do you feel we need more classrooms?
We definitely need more classrooms, but more teachers, because they throw the students together because there's not enough teachers. So you put them together, make a bigger classroom, but we're getting a lot of students that can't work in larger classrooms. So they're struggling because there's so much going on. So if you make it more, what's the word I'm looking for? You make it more, like, nice. You make it nice.
More pleasant.
Appealing for people wanting to become teachers, because a lot are leaving the classroom because they're tired. I know many teachers have left. They've gone into their own businesses or they've gone into the bank. They're leaving because they're just tired and frustrated, burnt out. Exactly. And we're losing. So we really have to make teaching more appealing. Have the ones that you have already stay. And that is also, like, improve their lives. We are not getting paid much. We have not looked at the salary scales for, 12 years, I believe. The last time the check was in 2012. We have not revisited that. They speak of moving from 0 to 5, you move scales, but no one does it. So the plan is there, but enforcement is not there. And that's what's lacking a lot within government. It's enforcement. Because there's a lot of laws, there's lots of policies, but nothing is being enforced. And that, I feel, it should be priority, enforcement.
What do you feel we need to do to attract more teachers? And I'm talking about local teachers. I know,
Make it more appealing.
Yeah,
Make it more appealing. Look, school is about to start. And teachers are now asking for help to set up their classrooms. This should be something that is coming from within government. I even said for a short-term solution would be to ask big businesses to contribute 100 guilders per teacher at least, so they can set up their classrooms. But none of that is being done. And if I have to take out $300 every August to set up my classroom, it's not going to be appealing for me. There's no incentive. So if we give more incentives, I feel like more people would want to become teachers or stay within the field.
I have tried to do, and I only spoke to one, but we are trying to find more male teachers. What is the problem? You've been on the board of Y2.
Yeah.
You know, what is it we know besides the salary that the men aren't very happy with for some reason. But, what could be, what are the other issues why men are not becoming teachers? Because especially when you have children in a single family home, they need male influence.
Definitely.
And the teachers, you'd be surprised. I had my father at home with me, but I always looked up to my male teachers.
Yes, I see it. That's
it's needed.
It is needed, but I feel, teaching is very nurturing, and you have to have a lot of patience. Now, don't get me wrong.
True.
Don't get me wrong.
Sometimes you need that hard
yes,
hand.
not all males have the kind of patience needed for what's going on within the classroom. Some have, but not most.
Yeah, but like some...
Patience-wise.
Yeah, but like some fathers, you have the good cop, bad cop. The mother is more nurturing, but the father is more stern.
Yes.
That's what we need in school as well.
Yeah, but that's within your household. For you now to go out and do it with students is not as easy for males, I feel. Okay. Because I've asked, my friends, why won't you become a teacher? Like, no. I don't have patience for that. So it could be that.
We have new generation of students as well. They are
Definitely. Speaking from the educators from 30
Yes.
years ago to now, they
yes.
said something is wrong. And I'm like, I know I
Something
see
went
it
wrong.
because I remember back in the days, this never used to happen so much. So mommy and daddy was coming into the schools a whole lot. Now, not so much.
What I think we need to do, and I've helped with a couple of schools privately, is encourage men to at least either mentor
Right.
or go into the schools and talk. So I have friends of mine that would go in to the schools and talk to the students. And I mean to say, you know, can one session make a difference? I don't know.
You
Maybe,
never know.
yeah.
You never know.
A
Some
message might be shared
Right.
that would touch that student.
Exactly.
But I do know, and I've always said, okay, we're gonna have to create at least some sort of mentoring program, and that's why, you know, I had started an alumni association years
Yes,
ago,
yes,
yeah,
yes, yes,
and I was
remember.
hoping, and maybe we can still work on one for each and every school, and so that they themselves, that they already have an affinity to the school, can mentor the students, because like we're all gonna have to get involved, you know, like it's really, I don't know how much the community realizes that all are gonna have to kind of save ourselves by working together.
What's the saying? It takes a village to raise a child.
Exactly, exactly. And the opposite of that is the village could also destroy the child if not working for the child, you know,
yeah,
together.
Together.
And we have to work on community development. We have to get our communities back to a place where, you know, we care more about
Yeah.
each other and we look out for each other. So
Yeah, yeah.
maybe this is a time, I don't know, maybe, you know, when it's like your worst, right?
Yeah,
The darkest
hope,
clouds,
yeah.
hopefully, you know, the sun is shining behind of this cloud and we could move forward as a country. Yeah.
There are what other, besides specialization of teachers, but what other issues are you concerned with? There's, you know, besides what's happening, we get up every day. There's a lack of housing.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lack of proper medical facilities. There's tourism. We are lagging behind.
Mm-hmm.
Increase in violence, of course. And then there's weapon and gun control. Everywhere you go right now, you can always, police are stopping vehicles, and you can always find at least one weapon in the vehicle, you know.
That's
And
good. The controls need to continue. And that's how we're going to get less guns, because we're doing the controls all the
but
time.
you know what I'm going to say? There's a shortage of police officers.
I know, but we got some extra help, you know.
Mhm.
Coming here, I did get stopped by the police officers
Oh,
and
so
the
did I.
Marines.
So did I.
So we got help, so
Okay.
let's put it into effect now. So check all the cars. Take the guns off the road. I'm in agreement with that.
So they're doing controls.
Yes, they are.
Parked,
They're
where I
controlling.
parked, and then the bike control saw me and says, there's no sign there, so you're allowed to stay there.
Oh,
I said,
Yeah.
usually, but one was pulling out. I was
Yeah.
wondering, where am I going to park today?
yeah.
You know, so it's good to know that there's increased presence of police officers
Yes.
Definitely.
on the street, which makes me feel good. Okay, so let's talk about medical facilities
Mm.
and what is happening with our medical center. Who wants to touch on that first?
I mean, when I left Parliament, I don't remember the last meeting that we may have had. I think we had asked questions, and the minister had to come back. I wish we had answers as to why it's taking so long, because we know we're in desperate need of the hospital.
Yes.
The party actually, and it was the Minister Gums and MP Gums, so Melissa and Patrice, we were having a discussion last night about not only, let's say, how fast or how bad we need the hospital to be up, but when are we going to have that amended legislation to allow doctors from all
Need
over the
staff.
world?
It needs to
It
be
needs to be
staffed.
staffed.
It
It
needs
needs to be
to be
staffed, and that
staffed,
needs to be priority number one.
Mhm.
So we need a hospital. We need to have doctors ready to go in the hospital. And we were also talking about this issue where, you know, it's horrible that we've chased a couple of our local doctors
Yeah.
because they couldn't get set up and da da da. Like that too is. That needs to also to be solved completely. You know, I had a girl that went school with me, a former student, wanted to set up a holistic healing clinic, had to leave. You know, we've heard of some doctors that had to fight to be here. So those are the things that now we're at this critical point. If we don't solve those issues, like, we're doing our people a great injustice. So there's a number of things, and the party has its eye on what needs to happen and what we understand is important. The hospital, but as soon as the hospital is ready, the doctors need to go in there, and we need to ask our local doctors to come back and allow them to set up to serve our people. Yeah.
Let's talk a bit about lack of housing. Housing is, but I will say that, and then, well, we won't talk. I wish your other colleague was here because I think he's doing an excellent job.
Minister Gums?
Minister
Yes.
Gums.
Yes, yes,
with
yes,
Romy.
yes, yes. he
I
did.
think
Yes.
that one of
Ding,
the
ding,
best
ding.
moves
Yes,
that
yes,
was made.
yes,
Come
yes.
back
Definitely
and
agree.
he
Yes.
really
Yes.
got
Hit
into
the
it.
ground
Yep,
running.
yep, yep,
He
yep.
hit
Proud
the
of
ground
him.
more. Yes,
Really
I
proud of
am
him,
too.
yes.
You know what I mean? So, but when we talk about our bread and butter now, 85% is from tourism, hospitality. And we are lagging behind when you think of airlifts that are going to Anguilla. They're not even passing through here anymore. They're going direct to Anguilla. Of course, St. Kitts and Nevis, you know. And then you hear that our budget is never enough. And when you're going to cut the budget to, hospitality is one of the first areas. And then what even scares me more is that education is another one that is always cut.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that has to stop as well.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on when we talk about hospitality
Mm-hmm.
that is keeping us afloat right now? But that's all we have.
Yeah.
We don't have any factories. We don't have a plan B, in other words.
No.
You know what I mean?
We need to start having a plan B because let's look at sports tourism and even arts. There is no priority in these areas. And we have amazing athletes. I will say it all the time.
Yes.
We have amazing athletes. But there's no one besides their family driving behind them, helping facilitate them. We need that. And people will come here. If we had a stadium that others can come and use as well, that will also attract more people to come here. So it's not only about one part of tourism. We need to start looking at other parts of tourism because we have it here. It's just to invest in them. Because I'm tired of seeing it on Facebook that they're begging for this and begging for that. There should be some kind of subsidy,
Fund there for them.
to help. Exactly. It will bring people here even more. People would want to invest in St. Martin also because of our athletes, our artists. But the importance, the priority.
So sports, because we're talking about the economy, right? And now there are different economies. You have the orange economy, which includes the creatives, which we've talked about it for like a number of different years, and I would get so excited because especially over the last years we've been seeing musicians, dancers, our artists,
Swimmers.
These athletes coming about. So for me, I'm like, only government, not parliament, government needs to stimulate that economy and say, okay guys, let's get together and let's work on what do you need to be set up. How can we create an environment that you could flourish, because the tourists come and they want to have these sorts of experiences. They want to do a sip and paint, or they want to go on, a hike. So you also have green economy that I think we also have to shift to. We cannot continue to overdevelop this country. We can't. We don't need any more concrete. We need more green spaces. We need to encourage agriculture. That's another thing, and the party is quite a proponent of agriculture. Minister Gums himself is big on agriculture. We need to promote and produce our own food. Then you have the blue economy, right? Now they're moving away from small island developing states to big ocean states. So we're so trying to change our mindset about how we see ourselves, right? We have all of this ocean around us. So whether it's fish, whether it's sea activities, yachting, boating, we're not getting enough money out of that part of the economy. So it's really about developing what we have in other areas, but you need leaders who understand that and who actually has the courage to go after making it a reality, and that they're not looking out for themselves. I think that's one of the biggest issues we have on St. Martin. But the party is all about these other economies, given the next chance to be and to govern. You could just imagine what could come out of it. Yeah.
Let's talk a bit about preserving our monuments. I know
Yes.
that's something that's near and dear to you.
And you
then-
also too. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's sad when you see, monuments being destroyed. You know, that small little bridge in Simpson Bay, I've been trying to get someone to talk about that. You know, it has to be preserved. The slave wall, Diamond Estate, you know. We get people who want to invest in our island. They want to buy property, but they buy it and then they destroy it.
Yeah.
You know,
And
it's
we can
not-
work it into the permit, you know.
Thank
It
you,
doesn't-
thank
we
you.
can
Because
work
you
it
go
into
to the
permit.
French side and
Yeah.
you see how they preserve theirs.
Of course.
You go to Curacao,
Yeah.
you see how they preserve theirs. You go to St. Kitts and you see how they preserve theirs. Why
Stacia,
can't-
when last you went Stacia?
for a funeral last year.
The
Or earlier this year.
heritage, yes.
Yeah, you know, we are proud of where we
yes,
came
yes,
from.
yes,
you know what I mean?
yes.
What we had, but we have too many investors that would put up a concrete jungle. In other words, you know, and we have to stop it, and we have to say, this is ours. This is where we came from, and if you're going to rebuild it in its original form.
Yes, yes.
You know, I love what they did with. Simple example, Liscargot. At least they kept it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know,
Yes, yes, yes.
and it should be more like
Yeah.
that. You know, but it's not happening. I know that
Yeah.
your colleague as well. He was on the board of the Monument Council. You know what I mean? I was sorry when he had to go, but now that he's
Yes.
back, you know. But that whole council has been dismantled. Everyone has resigned, unfortunately. So we need to get back that
They were
back up and
looking for
running
people.
again.
I saw that
Yeah.
they were looking to start it up again.
Okay. Well, let's hope it happens sooner rather than later.
Yeah, no,
Because we
it's
need to-
crucial.
yeah,
Yeah,
it
yeah,
is,
yeah. We're
it
at a
is.
critical point.
Exactly.
We're at a critical point right now. We see over the last couple of years, and I guess because of social media, the public is outraged when they're seeing this destruction. I actually co-founded with Mr. Yusarun of USM and Amaris Richardson of the St. Martin Museum, the St. Martin Archives and Heritage Platform, bringing together, and I'll invite you to the next one, heritage enthusiasts and organizations to not only discuss how to move forward with heritage and lobbying government, but also lobbying for national archives. That's our history there. And we have the archives in a government building, but it's not accessible. It's not properly stored and managed and organized. And we have some of the oldest documents in the kingdom. And these are the materials that we will use for our local history books. You know, so we're at a point where we're seeing this movement in the community that people are saying we have to protect our heritage and preserve it. Now is the time. The Monument Fund. That is something that had to be put in place by the Ministry of Education. They were this close to it and then it disappeared. That is key, because then you have monument owners can get the funds to keep their monuments, because a lot of owners say, listen, my house is a monument, but how am I going to upkeep it?
Exactly.
Government, you have a responsibility. You have to give monument owners the funds needed to upkeep their monument. And so those are things, and we asked about them over the last 4 years. But like I said, now it's critical, and it's time to sort of like bring the fire, because we can't continue like this.
Education. I know, like I said, you are passionate about education. When we talk about supporting your educators, your colleagues, what are some of their concerns?
Yeah.
You being on the board of Rhode Island Teachers Union, you know, and how would you want to improve, you know, their not only their lifestyle, but give them incentives.
Yes, of course. Like I said, the salary.
Yeah,
That's number one
they
complaint.
have to
If
be
you ask
revisited,
any
right?
one of them, that is the number one complaint, the salary. The classroom sizes, the setup every year, that it has to come out of pocket. Because you want your classroom to look nice for the students.
Yes.
It's appealing to them, it's welcoming.
Yes.
It makes you happy to be there also.
Mhm.
So that's also another one. The COLA, cost of living is going up daily, I would say. It's not even year, it's not even month. You go in the shop one day, it's one price, the next day is another price.
Yes.
There needs to be an adjustment in place, whether it's a yearly adjustment or bi-yearly, something. We cannot continue to be saying nothing.
Nothing. Right.
There was the 1% in December, but that's one incentive. It came right before elections, so the timing was a little off. So
Yeah,
if you
yeah.
have it for that time, it should have it for every year to carry it on. That's another thing. Parental involvement. We are not involving parents enough.
Mhm.
It's like you're pulling teeth for them to come and discuss their own children. I don't know how we're gonna go about it, but maybe parental programs in place where they have to come at a certain point. Employers have to give them the time off so they can come to
Yeah.
deal with their
I think
student, not
that's-
their,
With their
deal with their
children.
Yeah,
children,
because
not just when it's report card, but
Right.
throughout the year. They have to be actively involved.
Yes.
So that comes with employers. It comes with the schools as well. Another issue. Mental health.
Mhm.
Mental health is a priority. Last time I talked about it, and then I finally got a guidance counselor at our school. But it needs to be not that we are only checking in on the students when they do something wrong. It should be that we're seeing certain behaviors, or we are just checking in to make sure that they are okay. So those programs in place for students as well as teachers, because there is burnout, a lot is going on. Even if we implement one mental health day per year per teacher, everybody's not gonna get it at the same time. You put in for it, just one day, even if it's your birthday and that's the day you want to go and just be free, that also can help with the burnout. So all of this in place would alleviate the stress of both teachers and the students.
Exactly. Truancy.
I'm sorry.
I know.
I'm
know.
guessing it's a
I spoke
personnel
to-
issue that it is not as it should be, because you're absent for a certain amount of time. Somebody's supposed to go and check on you,
Thank you.
but that does not happen.
Yeah.
Personnel issue, okay. If there's a personnel issue, hire for that. It's just my take on it.
Okay.
It's not
I know.
being followed.
I know. Other issues of concern to you, Miss Duncan, and how would you? Okay. How should I say? August 19th election, August 20th. Hopefully, we'll get the results. We know what is what, who is who, and who is where. Your first order of business, what would it be? You have to hit the ground running like Patrice.
Yeah. I mean, if it's Parliament, back in Parliament, like I said, the structure, the need for a legal department, that needs to happen. And I know that budget will have to be allocated, but that is key, because a lot of times too, we see amendments that are passed in Parliament that do not get implemented at government, at executive level. So that's a gap that needs to be filled in, because then it doesn't make any sense then that amendments are passed. So the restructuring of Parliament, where that legal department is properly designed and manned, so that we can make sure that policy and legislation is on the same line, getting the research library up and going again. But for me, I just thought about the fact that we are in a hurricane season. I'm happy that it's a little There's a little bit of movement in the region right now, but one of the concerns that I've had is that we're not seeing a sort of a bigger disaster management energy. I thought by now we would have had a more dedicated agency to disaster management, but I think there needs to be a lot more work done, especially as it concerns the community, because we saw after Irma, at the end of the day, each community, if given the resources, can take care of itself, you know? And I think that's something that we have to think about, because of this climate change and the heat, we're going to see more storms.
Yes.
So I
Unfortunately.
definitely feel like that's something that also needs to be focused on. I think years ago we were working with the disaster management agency for CARICOM, which is in Tortola, and that relationship, I don't know what happened to it. But these are relationships that can happen at regional level that I think that we need to focus on and move forward, because things are quiet right now, but we still have September, and
Yeah.
that kind of worries me at times.
Yes. Okay. What would you like as we winding down? What would you like the people to know? What would you like to tell them? Your message. Why vote for Rosalinda Martina on the 19th?
First, I would like to tell them to come out and vote. That is the number one. We are all frustrated, but we cannot just sit home and be frustrated. You have to come out to the polls, with your red color pencil, and vote for the Party of Progress. Vote for change. Vote for accountability, transparency, communication. You're seeing the work that the Party for Progress is doing right now. So give us a chance to do more. That is all. That is all. Give us a chance.
Give you that one chance, huh?
Yes.
Okay. Ms. Duncan, what would you like the community to know? Why vote for Ludmilla Duncan? Why vote for, I would say, yes, Ludmilla.
Yeah.
people.
Candidate number 11. I am a former member of parliament that showed integrity is extremely important, but also ethical decision making and communication. I reminded the people as well that you have a voice, and you actually have the right to ask government and parliament to do what they're supposed to do for you. And I have always been someone who I'm always ready to work for the people. That is my job. I'm not there for myself. And now, in our deepest and darkest times, now we kind of have to have the strength to get up and to say, you know what, we're not going to give up on this country. And the Party for Progress is the party that is going to do not only the work, but is going to be honest with the people and going to be transparent. So vote for me, candidate number 11 on the PFP. And thank you.
What has been most disappointing for you?
On my run?
Yes. And you see the state of affairs that's happening right now.
Oh. The lack of communication and going to the people and seeing what they want. So evaluate, survey. That is what is lacking. It's sad to see you're in this position. You're supposed to be the voice of the people, but you're not actively going out there and listening to their voice before you make decisions that affect them.
Why should we vote? We are frustrated, we are upset, we are mad that we have to do this. We used to get mad when we had to vote every year and a half. Now we have to vote twice in 1 year, you know, and there's so many people out there that decided, I'm not going to waste my time, I'm not going to go and vote because nothing is going to change. What do you say to that?
You know, there's a couple of different answers that people usually give. One is, if you don't vote, it's hard for you to
Have anything to say?
have anything to say. But I mean, that's one version of things, right? And you can vote and be disappointed in who you voted in. But this is a right that you have, especially in a democratic society. At the end of the day, government has a responsibility to make decisions that will affect your life. So there has to be a government. There have to be leaders, and you have to never give up on trying to get the leader that you believe is the right leader in, although it's important for you to really look at who you're voting for, look at that party, scrutinize them. But government is responsible for our daily lives and the quality of our life. And so that's why it's so important not to leave that to anybody, that you have had a say in it, and that and that you can feel that you are part of the process.
But what do you say to people who feel that government owes them a living? Government has to do this for me, government has to do that for me. No, but we become too dependent on government.
That's very true.
Yeah, and that's a small island Caribbean issue, I realize, and I've done some research on it. The thing is, we have to kind of shift the mindset of our people and say that we're all responsible. So government, yes, is very much responsible to make sure that you could survive and not only survive, thrive in your own country, that you have a good quality of education, that you have healthcare. That's their responsibility. But you are also responsible for holding them accountable, for voting, for helping your neighbor. So I think we have to kind of create new narratives in the country that remind everyone that we're all in this together. We're all in it together, yeah.
Thank you. And with that, everyone, we've come to the end of the program. My guest today was Ms. Rosalinda Martina. She's candidate number 8 on the Party for Progress. And Ms. Solange Ludmila Duncan. She's candidate number 11 on the Party for Progress slate. I hope you enjoyed this program as much as I enjoyed bringing it to you. So until next time, and I'll be back with another informative program, do enjoy the rest of your evening from all of us here at PJD2 1300 AM, PJD3 102.7 FM, the voice of St. Martin. Bye-bye now.